And welcome in to the Citrus Preps podcast for this week. Alongside Mike Deem, I'm Brett Knutson. Another week of football upon us, and a week we can quickly look back on that was
broken up.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you're going to have that once or twice every year. We figured that out. And last year, of course, it was some games that were canceled and or postponed, and then now last week, a lot of Friday games started. Not completed. Yep. One never was started, and worked out really pretty well for everybody if you look at it. Yeah. Crystal River played a half against Hernando. They were down 7-0. They agreed to come back and play that game on Saturday night, which they did. The Pirates scored a couple of touchdowns, led by a big one by DeAndre Parker.
Definitely.
And they win that game 14-7, 2 losses in a row now for Hernando, and Crystal River is sitting pretty in the district standings.
Big time, and it's hard to do when you're stop a game in the middle of it and then come back and try to get started again. It's like your first half all over again. So I feel for Hernando, but that's what Crystal River did. They came out and they're a second half team. We already talked about that.
Yeah, and the players talked about too that some things maybe weren't going well in the first half. They were obviously shut out and down 7-0. They got to go back on Saturday morning, watch film, and then go get ready for Saturday night. So I guess that worked out. The other two games, Citrus never got started against Weeki Wachee. They agreed to play that game on Monday, and I guess Weeki Wachee probably wish they would agree to never have played that game.
Stay on the bus.
A monster night for the Hurricanes. On defense, 5 defensive touchdowns. They don't give any points to a Weeki Wachee team. A quarterback who had thrown for 12 TDs, I think, in his last 2 games prior to that. So the string of very good defensive performances by Citrus continues. They held Hernando to a touchdown. They played well against Crystal River. So there's a trend in the right direction for Citrus. We'll talk more about them later in the show as they pick up a win. And then Lecanto, our game of the week from last week, got started. They had a 7-0 lead at the end of the first, had a turnover the first play of the second quarter, and then the sky fell in, and the game was
electricity was electric.
Yeah, it was. That was a bad night. We were lucky to get out of there.
Yeah.
They still had the homecoming dance at Citrus and Lecanto, but still, a wild night. But Lecanto comes back. Takes a 7-0 lead into half on Monday, breaks it open with a couple of TDs in the third. A big win for Lecanto because it gets them even up at 1-1 in district play.
District game, and Central actually just did not look good, and that's Citrus's foe this week, and we'll talk about it a little later. But Central just did not look good at all. I mean, their heads were not even in the game. But hey, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about that when they play Citrus.
That's a team who the winless record indicates
what it is. Yeah,
not very good. Seven Rivers, after a delay, did get their game in down at Bishop McLaughlin, and they suffered a loss. So the struggles continue for Seven Rivers, and they will, again, Mike, have their hands full this week. It won't be easy. They are back at home as they will take on Mount Dora Christian, but Mount Dora is the top team in that division. As you see, they're 2-0. They still have got to play Bishop McLaughlin, but this will be a tough test, I think, for Monty Van and his Warriors.
Yeah, they've lost 4 in a row now, and it's just kind of the wheels have come off a little bit since that first win. And he's having a little bit of tough time finding players in there and to make sure that they're plugging in the right spots. But Mount Dora Christian's no joke. I mean, they're up there at the top, and they're going to have a tough time with this team. I mean, Mount Dora's really good.
Yeah, and it take a great effort, but they are back at home, and this is one of those you probably can kind of throw caution to the wind, open up the playbook, do whatever you want. You're at a point now where you've got to just give everything you can and try to pull off the upset if possible. So that game will take place Friday night out at Warrior Park. As we mentioned, the other 3 teams in action, of course, a big one we'll get to in just a few minutes. That's Lecanto-Crystal River. Citrus also has a big one because now, Mike, they all really become huge games because the district standings are starting to take shape, and you can start to look ahead a little bit. They are right now. Nature Coast obviously 2-0 in district. You got Crystal River and Citrus at 2-1, then Weeki Wachee Lecanto at 1-1. Central pretty much out of it right now. 3 losses you're not going to win the district, and you're not going to get a wild card bid. Hernando's got a lot of work to do if they're going to get back into it, although they did move up in the point standings this week, and they're sitting near the top 10 of the point standings, so they've got that going for them, and potentially if they win out, they could have enough points to get in.
Big top 8, right? We'll talk about that later in the points.
Yeah, you've got four district champions who get in, and then 4 wild cards. Okay. So if you win this district, you're in. And if you're talking about strictly the district, I think obviously you can go down the list. I said Hernando and Central are going to have a hard time winning the district unless something crazy happens. So as you look at the games this week, obviously Lecanto-Crystal River becomes almost a play-in game. You lose it, you're going to have a hard time making up the points to get in as a wild card and a hard time winning the district. The winner lives to fight another day and is in good shape. Citrus also in the same boat, a must-win game against Central. This would hurt Citrus points
big time
if they lose this. They're going to need help anyway. I think to get in with their points, they need to win the district is what it comes down to, and they can. They've got Central, they've got Lecanto, and they have Nature Coast.
So they got 3 districts games coming right up there each other.
And you win all those 3. As you look at it now, you win all those 3. You have an opportunity to, at worst, maybe create a 3-way tie like they did last year. That did not work out in Citrus's favor. We saw that, and I know they don't want to hear about that again. But so we'll talk about Citrus as they go down to Central. I know talking to Coach Varnador yesterday out at practice, this was a hungry team we're going to play, a team that's got nothing to lose. This is their biggest game. They're just trying to get a win. We can't take them lightly. And they've been playing good enough, obviously.
I'm going to tell you right now that the Central is just not good. Coach Warren knows that. I mean, Citrus has a great opportunity here to take one in the district without having to do too much. Hopefully, they won't look over it, but their defense is so stout, I don't see them having any problems there. It's about offensively, can they generate the points? That's the problem that they have right now. Defensively, I think they could hold anybody in, including Nature Coast. They have that kind of a defense that's going to cause that problems. They've got some good players in Geoff Banning and Freer who come off the edge.
Fryer and Banning Fryer had a return for a touchdown on the defensive side. Banning is lighting it up. I mean, they are. As a unit, they're playing. Some. Go back to the Crystal River game. I mean, they gave up a couple of big plays. One really big one kind of turned the tide in that one, and then they played fantastic down at Hernando. And I think they sort of punched Hernando in the mouth, and then Crystal River last week then stepped on Hernando. So that's a struggling team. And then Weeki Wachee to come in. Yeah, I think Weeki Wachee is a team, whether they're a great team that may be up for debate, but offensively they're good.
Yeah.
And so to shut them out, and then not only shut them out,
well, to hold them to minus
5 touchdowns.
Hold them to minus 14 yards too, and then only 59 yards in passing. I mean, that's a dominant defense, along with the 5 turnovers and the 5 picks.
Yeah, it was interesting you said that because Coach Varnador said, our philosophy going into Weeki Wachee was kind of like it was against Westport. We've got to take away the pass because they're going to pass the football. We want them to run, and so he sort of, I think, expected them to maybe have some rushing yards if they did take away the pass. Well, they did, and they still couldn't rush the ball either. So that was about a dominant performance as a defense could possibly have.
They did have 1 touchdown and offensively. I think Weems. I don't know if it was Weems or not, but Weems had 81 yards rushing, so he had most of that in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the offense has got to get cranked up for Citrus. There's no question about that. And this could be the week to gain some confidence because Central's struggling. They played on Monday against Lecanto. It didn't go well, and I think
a short week.
This is what Nate Varnador had to say about having to go take on Brooksville Central and avoid a bit of overconfidence.
We got to remember, we still have less wins than we do losses. So we're going into each game with the mentality of we're going to chip away and get a win at a time. It just makes it more beneficial that it's a district game. So that's what we're going to be rallying to our kids this week.
Just stay focused. Just don't get caught up in the moment. And everybody do their job, we should be fine. It's definitely different. It's a lot better energy. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to and just having fun now.
Well, looks like they're having fun. See the smile on his face?
I would too. Score 5 TDs on defense.
Defense is feeling real good.
Every time I watch the replay on Max Preps, I would kind of go up there and say, okay, here's another touchdown. Another touchdown. A fumble recovery touchdown. It was. Yeah. And that's another thing I was trying to say is that, they were blitzing up the middle, and they were getting pressure on that quarterback all night. And that's one of the things that I noticed on the film was that, Coach Varnador, I'm not sure who his defensive coordinators, but they were dialing up some nice stunts and nice
Chop
stuff.
Alexander working with the defense over there does a great job. And, man, they're doing a fantastic job. That has obviously been the secret to their success, is turning this around 2 in a row. And they should. And I know probably Coach Varnador doesn't want us to say, but this is a game that things go well. You've got it in hand at half. You get to rest some kids because it's not easy to have those games in this district.
No,
and if you get an opportunity to rest some kids, especially when you've already had a bye week, you want the opportunity to do that. So a big game for Citrus. They need to keep winning. They need to try and win the district championship because they could be in the same scenario with a tie atop the district and the point standings. So they've got some ground to make up, but the schedule's doable.
Yeah, so Citrus got Lecanto after Central. We're looking ahead a little bit, and then they've got Nature Coast. 2 district games, and then they can basically be in their hunt for number 1.
Yeah, 5-1 is not at all an impossible opportunity when you factor in, they did beat Nature Coast last year too. So there is some confidence on that side, as there should be. So a big game down in Brooksville on Friday night as Citrus will travel to Central. Our game of the week, no surprise, a county rivalry, the county championship.
There you go.
In one direction is on the line as Lecanto will travel to Crystal River. Crystal River wins. They win the county championship. They already own a victory over Citrus. But I mean, I don't know what's more important. I would think that the playoffs in the district may be more important than a county championships. That's the goal. So,
of course,
this
I always say that.
This is a huge game. This is a huge game for both teams because they both have a district loss. You get that second loss in district play, and
you're almost
winning
done.
the district. Yeah, and then you're stuck looking at the point standings.
You're waiting on somebody else to help you out.
Yeah,
and that's the only way you can do it.
So, an interesting matchup. Obviously, Crystal River's having a tremendous season. Only the one loss in overtime to Nature Coast. We know it shouldn't have ended the way it ended. A bad call by the officials who didn't know the rules, but that's neither here nor there. One loss for Crystal River. They come back and have a big win at Hernando. Says something about that football team that they can overcome a devastating loss to Nature Coast and then come out and over the course of 2 nights take care of Hernando and really put themselves in control of their own destiny, not only for potential district championship, they still need some help, but they are in control of a wild card spot. They're up to number 5 in the point standings this week, and so I think it's pretty simple. If they keep winning, they will be in good shape to get a wild card spot, but it starts by beating Lecanto.
It does, and you talk about Citrus, the defense. I mean, Crystal River has DeAndre Parker, who's over 1,000 yards right now on offense and 11 touchdowns. But
Second
you look
in
at
the district in total yards right now.
But you look at the defense that Crystal River comes out with. They've stopped a couple of times. Remember, Nature Coast, a 4th down and short. They had the game. They could have won the game at that point.
They only scored 2 touchdowns. Nature Coast did.
So that Crystal River defense is undervalued. I think is that people don't look at it that way, but they know that they're good. And in the second half, they are dominant. They are dominant in that second half, and I think that's where they're going to come into and say, "Hey, we're going to come out here and we're going to maybe we'll be a little slow as they were at Citrus when we had the game at that point. The first half they were a little bit slow-footed, but they came out in the second half and they dominated. And I think that's what they're thinking. And Coach Cliff Lowry's got them thinking, no matter what we do, no matter what the score is at halftime, we can always come back and we can win. And I think that's a great thing for a team to be able to see that and be able to say, "Hey, no matter what, we got your back. We're going to be out there. We'll win the game at the end."
Yeah, you can't undervalue their defense because I think as you look at the season right now, the games against Southlake and Westport where they gave up points, those become the exception, not the rule. They played well against Dunellen, great against Citrus. Obviously, I'm guessing when we get to the end of the year, they will have held Nature Coast to the least amount of points they're going to score all year. And then, obviously, last week, again, shutting down Hernando to 1 touchdown. So they're playing really good. And that'll be the challenge for Lecanto. They got things going offensively a little bit against Brooksville Central. Put up some points, touchdown on Friday. And then on Monday, they score 3 more to ice it. So they get 27 points. They get some confidence. The defense gets a shutout. So this is one of those games where I'm sure Coach Harper is saying, okay, we've got to have our best offensive performance, and we've got to play really good on defense, and we've got to stop completely eliminate, if you can, that one big play. Because Nature Coast defensively played good against Crystal River, but they gave up one big play. Citrus played really good gave up one. So with DeAndre Parker and Jaden Williams, you just can't give up that one big play, and that's hard to do over 4 quarters.
It must be disciplined. You got to play gap defense, and you got to watch for the cutback, especially with DeAndre Parker being able to move where he wants to. Cut back on that. You got to fill your gaps, and you got to make sure that you're playing your assignment football, and that's the key thing right now with Lecanto. They've had a couple of breakdowns in the defense, and that's what that loses them a little bit. I do like though that they've got on track with offense. I mean, they started with a fake punt against when they were playing last game against Central. That's what kickstarted a little bit.
That's what got them going.
But Ryan Rogers throwing it to Bresnahan for 37 yards, throwing it on a fake punt, that kind of gets their confidence. And I've seen Ryan Rogers now a couple of times on film, and he's starting to pick it up a little bit. You've seen it at the end. And then they come back and they rely on who they should have been relying on, Hunter Pitts. I mean, a big boy, 6'3", 235. You need to get him in the ball and get him in downtown and dirty in the red zone.
Putting him in positions. They lined him up at running back and gave him the ball, and that was the second touchdown of the game. That really put it out of reach because, I mean, you could just have the feeling that Brooksville Central was not going to put up any points. So, yeah, they're going to have Hunter Pitts. Obviously, is going to have a good game. Ryan Rogers is going to have to make some throws,
and pick
up some first downs.
They got some athletes.
Nathan Kopp is going to have to play well. Then that defense with those guys there are going to have a really good game, and you're going to have to keep Williams and Parker from that 60-yard play. Can you do that?
I think what's going to happen is that you're going to look at, and DeAndre, scored, and not only being a quarterback. But he's also scored on a toss sweep, and he's got on a handoff. So he's going to be able to do a lot of things. You just have to match up on him. And I think that's what Coach Harper's going to look at. He's going to say, okay, we match up on him. I got to have somebody on him all the time. Just mirror him all the time. Take that one guy out of the mix and play your defense, gap defense with 10 men, and see what you can do. Because you got to put it on there.
One of those games, I think, if you're Lecanto, take it into the third and fourth quarter. Even though Crystal River has had a very solid history of being able to pull out close games, let's take it into the second half and see where we go. And I think if you're Cliff Lowry and company, you're saying we'd like to have one where we've got the fourth quarter and not worry about it. But I don't think Coach Lowry and his staff are anticipating that this will be the one because it is Lecanto and it is a rivalry. So we're going to hear from both sides of the coin, Crystal River first and then Lecanto, about Friday night's matchup.
I think for our guys, having Lecanto in front of us, if we keep preaching that 1-0 mentality, Lecanto is no different than Citrus in terms of anytime you're playing an inter-county rivalry, records mean nothing. Those young men are going to come to play hard. Their coaches are going to coach hard. So for us to have the opportunity to compete, it's our senior night, to recognize 11 outstanding young men. It's a big night for our program.
I think it's a great feeling even now, knowing that this is going to be my last time going into there, and knowing that I have to practice hard every day this week to make sure that I do my best. Because as everyone knows, this is my last year, so this is the last chance I got.
It's really important for us, and I think it's gonna be a fun experience to play at the seniors one last time against Lecanto and see show them what we're made of.
That's one of the nice things I've always liked about this district that we're in right now. It makes those county rivalries even bigger. It doesn't get any bigger than your rival and district game at the same time. And they've done a really good job so far this season, and they're in the mix of the district race. And we want to keep ourselves in that conversation. So it's a big game this Friday.
Everyone over here knows everyone over there. Everyone over there knows everyone over here. We're playing against the same guys we've been playing in Pee Wee. It's just something we got to do. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be competitive, and I think it's going to be a great night.
This year they're doing really good. They're doing pretty good. So we're just going to have to show out, and we're going to have to, really, despite having the game last night, we're going to have a good practice today, and we're going to make sure we're working all week this week, just so we can try to catch a dub.
And there's the matchup: 2-3 for Lecanto, 5-1 for Crystal River, but more importantly, 1-1 in district play for the Panthers, 2-1 for Crystal River. So, as we said, Mike, a lot on the line. This is a potential county championship, but district implications and playoff implications for both sides.
Exactly, and that's where you have to look at those point standings, which you're going to show here in a little bit, and that's going to make a big difference because they've got, Lecanto looks at it from a standpoint, okay, we're starting to get going here, we're starting a little bit of momentum here, we got some confidence building. If we can get to 2-1, we have a chance. And that's all you want as a player. You want to be able to say, hey, I got a chance to go out there and compete, but I also got a chance to compete for a championship. And that's what they're thinking right now. And I think that's what Coach Harper's trying to say. Look, we had a couple rough start on the beginning of the season, but now we're getting back into it. Let's go out there and play our county rival and beat them and not deny, but I'm saying to mix up the county championship here, but at the same time, throw a monkey wrench in their district plans too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so much at stake. You hope the emotions don't carry over onto the field. And it was a really good game between Crystal River and Citrus. I mean,
it was
well played.
It was
none of that nastiness. And I would assume with the way both coaches coach their teams, it'll be the same atmosphere Friday night. But as we said, fun because it's a rivalry game and one everyone across the county is going to be talking about and wondering about. But also because there is importance outside of just trying to win a game in county. The district stand, like Coach Harper said, I mean, that's what's nice about the district because you get that little extra added something to it. And a few years ago when they weren't in the same district, you didn't have that. That makes it fun.
It does.
It also, showcases that both programs, I mean, even though Lecanto's record is not as good as Crystal River's, they've done enough to put themselves in position in the district race where this game means something.
Sure.
And that's
one thing
you can hope
as
for.
a player too, is like a lot of them said there, they know those guys. They played against those guys. Some of them played with those guys.
Yeah.
And they see those guys on weekends at the gathering spots that they all go to, and they can talk things and they can say things. And hey, that's where it comes down to, is that a little bit of bragging rights here for the Citrus Countyans that are playing against each other, but also an even added feature of a district championship on the line that maybe they can get to or achieve.
Here's those point standings you were talking about. We cautioned last week, don't get too irate over things that were happening. No surprise, Nature Coast remains at the top, followed by Menendez, North Marion, and Baker County. Crystal River, as I said, I mean, remember, top district teams, the district winner automatically gets seeded 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you look at it the way it would be set up now, the only oddity really would be that Zephyr Hills, even though they're below Crystal River, they would be the 4 seed right now. They would jump Crystal River and Baker County because they would technically be a district champ. But Crystal River sitting in good shape right now. If it ended today, they would actually be the 2nd wild card and be the 6th seed. But Hernando moved up, even though they lost.
Yep.
Lecanto moved down a little bit, obviously. Citrus, not a whole lot of movement there, and that's what we talked about with the Canes, that they need. They really need to win the district to make it a slam dunk that they are in. But it'll be interesting to see how their points climb as the season goes. That will be important. But as we said, for Crystal River, their perspective, sitting where Cliff Lowry and company are sitting, I think you can extrapolate enough from the point standings that they would be safe as a wildcard team winning out.
I totally agree.
Everybody else, Lecanto, Citrus, and if you even want to throw Wikiwachi in there or Hernando, they're going to need some help. Lecanto's help would come with a win over Crystal River.
That's exactly right.
Citrus could help themselves a ton by beating Nature Coast and just winning the rest of their games. So it's out there, but Crystal River, as I look at it now, is the one team who knows that if we win, even if it's not enough to win the district, I think we're good as a wild card. One loss with the teams they've played and the record they'll have will be good enough to get Crystal River in. Everybody else, probably you got to win out, number one, and then see what happens.
And that's exactly what all coaches are saying. One game at a time. Coach Lowry say you got to go 1-0 every single week. And if they do that and they take care of their business and win their games, then don't worry about it. Whatever else somebody's doing, then you'll be okay. But that's what coaches are saying right now. Win every game out, and we'll be fine. If we don't, then we're going to have some issues and we'll have to have some help. Yeah. But right now, that's what we need to concentrate on. And this is what all Citrus teams right now have a chance to actually get in the district championship. That's a great thing.
It's fun. I mean,
it is great.
It's exciting that all of them are sitting there talking about, we're in the mix. We can win,
yes,
and we've got a chance. So that's what makes these football games exciting. That's what adds a little more to the game on Friday night. Speaking of Friday night, you can check us out on YouTube, Citrus Preps. That is where the game of the week will be. We'll get underway just before 7 o'clock. Unfortunately, my partner Mike won't be here, so sitting in for him will be.
I'll be watching and live streaming.
There you go. Help the views. Subscribe, like. Dave Hamilton, Coach Dave Hamilton will be doing the color. So I apologize ahead of time. I'll be doing Mike's job, and that won't be very good. But yeah, that's the good part about it being live streamed. You just have to watch. You can turn down the volume. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Twitter at Citrus Preps, Facebook, and Instagram as well. I'm working diligently on a lot more updates on Instagram. My social media coordinator has gotten a firm tongue lashing. She's been lacking on her Instagram work, so we're going to make sure she gets going. There was a couple up last night, and the response is good, so appreciate you folks who do the Instagram thing.
Thank you very much.
I think that trend's a little younger than
it
us,
does for me. I can only do one thing at a time, and Twitter's about
Twitter,
it.
Yeah. But again, Friday night is the game of the week on YouTube. And then, of course, we'll be back here next Wednesday with our live stream podcast as we get ready.
That's going to be interesting.
It's going to be fun. And then we'll get ready for, just
gotta watch
pack it up and do it again and see. So we'll recap everything. But, of course, Friday night game of the week, live stream on YouTube at Citrus Preps is where you can find it. And I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a fun week. Mike will be watching, and I'll get the pleasure of being there. We hope it's a fantastic game. That'll do it for us, this edition of the Citrus Preps podcast. We'll see you all Friday night at the football game and back here next Wednesday.